accepted. We gooched there.
We are live.
Did you get the notification already? It's official?
I mean, it says it on the... Not yet.
Oh, I think I just got it.
Oh, I just got the Facebook
notification. There we is.
There's the Twitch one.
Nice.
I'm assuming we're live.
Yeah, we're live. What's going on? Episode 79.
What up?
Yeah. Almost at 80. How crazy is that?
It's wild, man.
Almost
Absolutely wild.
We're basically going with the bi-weekly format. We'll give everyone a minute to jump in. Figured more stuff happens over the 2 weeks. But before we get into Mandalorian and John Wick, let's talk about some of the noosh. Just some upcoming things. We got the Mario Brothers movie coming out Friday. You gonna go see that next weekend?
I'm gonna try to. Friday is. I'm streaming all weekend long. We got WrestleMania all weekend, so
I forgot about that WrestleMania.
Yeah. Friday's the Hall of Fame. Yeah, we are on the
podcast, people. If you haven't listened yet, all the Oversell podcasts, they've been basically revisiting the old WrestleManias. Oh, look, we got fire alarms.
Yep, and my town is on fire yet again. I can't wait to get a soundproof room.
I feel like they wait till we're live and then they go.
Every time.
Now it's time. That's why I got the train wreck shirt on. It's on brand for us.
So your man Zuplex City is going to be streaming all weekend long. The plan is Friday night start with the Hall of Fame. Saturday, I'm even playing around with the idea. I might stream the NXT Takeover event before WrestleMania.
NXT also, huh?
Before WrestleMania, I might as well go all in. If I'm going to be streaming, I might as well be streaming. And then Saturday night 1 of WrestleMania, Sunday night 2 of WrestleMania, and then the Monday after we're going to do Monday Night Raw as well. So it's going to be a lot. If you like pro wrestling, this is the weekend to jump on board with Oversell.
Who do you have? Who's going to be joining you for the different shows? Do you know? Hold on.
1 second.
Let's let the police do their thing.
It's the fire department. My town's always on fire, bro.
It's good. The episode just started.
So I believe, I don't know if anybody's joining me for the Hall of Fame, but I know Fred and John and possibly Steve will be joining us for Mania. I'm trying to convince you to jump on Mania at least one night with us.
I want to, but doesn't that mean I have to watch?
You have to watch it live. It's on Peacock.
Well, can I tell you something that's going to shock your head off?
You don't have
plans
Peacock?
This week. No, I have plans this week.
Sorry. Captain Spartacris always has plans on the weekend.
This whole weekend I got shit going on.
Well, listen, man. Are you going to be home at 8 o'clock on Saturday?
Maybe. I got my niece's birthday party Saturday.
You can jump in late.
I have another event. Maybe I could jump in late.
Jump in late. Just jump on. Say what's up to the boys.
We'll see if I feel like enjoying the if I feel like enjoying wrestling for a weekend for once in my life.
But yes, I am excited for the Mario Brothers movie.
Mario Brothers movie is next weekend. This Friday, is the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
I know, man.
Which actually looks really good.
It looks really good.
All the trailers have sold me on the movie.
It's giving me an itch to play.
Yeah. It's been a long time since I played Dungeons and Dragons, but it's definitely making me want to revisit the game.
I mean, don't you think our viewers would like to see a live streamed Dungeons and Dragons game between us?
I think that would be a very entertaining idea.
I'd be willing to even DM. I'd be willing to even DM.
Really?
Because it's always hard finding a DM.
I've never been the Dungeon Master. DM stands for Dungeon Master for you non
or GM
fans.
If you're not in the trademark, Game Master.
What is GM? Oh, Game Master. Okay.
Yeah, because DM is Dungeon Master is trademarked by.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, it's what's their faces? Who makes Dungeons and Dragons? I forget what they're called.
I don't know. Hasbro.
No.
Publicist.
It's a private company that I think they're owned by Hasbro. There was a big thing about Dungeons and Dragons this year. Did you see about this? The controversy?
You know what? Literally earlier today, I came across an article, something about some controversy in Dungeons and Dragons. I really didn't care enough to look into it, so I didn't read about it.
Basically, so the owners of Dungeons and Dragons are trying now to rework their copyright, so that basically all of these other content creators like Dimension 20 and Critical Role and all these guys, any new Dungeons and Dragons style game that they come up with or content that they come up with, the owners of Dungeons and Dragons are trying to say that now they'll end up owning the rights to all of that. So if they wanted to put it in their official game in the future, they can, like any of the homebrewed stuff, any of that stuff.
Okay.
So they're trying to make it so content creators are creating basically their new content without them having to pay them for anything.
Oh, that's what's going on. So I did read something like that. I don't think I pieced together that it was Dungeons and Dragons, but I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah. So it's I can't remember the name of the company that owns Dungeons and Dragons, but basically, like, it was a really like shady thing that they had put out with this new, like, it was like a new copyright form that they tried like getting people to sign and all this other stuff. Wizards of the West.
That's a little fucked up. What'd you say?
I think it's Wizards of the Coast, which is a subsidiary of Hasbro.
So they're just trying to have other people, fans, basically do the work for them instead of on their own trying to come up with new.
Yeah,
stuff.
because what's happening is like content creators, like Critical Role, Dimension 20, all these like big D&D content creators are making a lot of money off of their games, and they don't have to pay them anything because they're not calling it Dungeons and Dragons. They're calling, a tabletop game or whatever. But they're using basically the D&D platform. So they're trying to like make it so anything that they create now falls under that platform, and then they own the rights to.
Is that? I wonder. See, now I'm interested. Now I'm wondering if that's actually going to go through or not. It can't.
So from what I understand, there's so much pushback from it that they balked and changed it back because everybody was freaking out at one point.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Like the entire community was just like, basically, screw you. We're not signing any of that. We're not doing any of this.
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure that we sounded good on the stream. For anyone who's jumping in, we're going to be going deep on Mandalorian and John Wick 4. If you haven't seen it, this is your spoiler warning. We're going to talk about both of them, including the newest episode of Mando, which came out today. I felt like since it's Wednesday, we might as well kind of go hard into everything that's happening.
I'm with it.
But before we get into it, and we were just talking about the Hasbro or the Dungeons and Dragons controversy. The other controversy that I read today was Disney firing Ike Perlmutter, whatever his name is.
Oh yeah,
basically the guy who didn't want didn't want Captain Marvel and Black Panther for the longest time. Disney finally dropped his ass. What's up, Scythe? Yeah, he got fired. I mean, they dropped him. Finally,
hasn't he been like
fired somebody who made a lot of money? So
hasn't he been like defunct for a while? Like,
well, he's still
like he wasn't fired, but he wasn't really involved in anything.
No, he was still heavily involved in like the merchandising side of Marvel. They just took his sway out of the movie and TV show side. Like he's the reason basically that the Marvel TV shows never connected to the MCU in any kind of real way. He's the reason it took so long for us to get a Captain Marvel movie. He's the reason it took so long for us to get Black Panther. If it was up to him, we would never have gotten Shang-Chi. He wanted to fire Kevin Feige at one point because Feige was just pushing back on things. Like,
that's wild.
Just nuts, just absolutely nuts. Scythe actually just said that too, that he wanted to fire Feige as well. It's just an absolute travesty that it took this long for Disney to finally do something. They fired him.
But he's been at Disney for a very, very long time.
30 years. Been there for 30 years.
So, I mean, it's hard to fire a guy that's been there for 30 years,
It's hard to fire a guy who's been there, and he was a big part of building up the MCU.
He made them a shit ton of money.
Right. He definitely had pushback on certain things, but he did make them a lot of money. So, I mean, it makes sense. Merchandising-wise, they were still doing well, too. So
wasn't he like the brains behind Pirates of the Caribbean?
Pretty much. Every big property, he basically had a say in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, I mean, it's hard to fire a guy like that, but, yeah, I get it. He's pushing back like the Marvel machine.
And I think now, the Marvel movies are starting to really get kind of shit, if you will. And, they don't want to blame Feige because you get rid of him, then the Marvel fanboys are going to riot. So they got rid of the guy that they felt like they could get.
I almost think it might be Feige's fault, to be honest with you, dude.
That Feige got that Perlmutter got fired?
I think that the MCU is kind of like going down this weird path. I think Feige's getting a little too big for his britches here. It reminds me.
You got to get more detail. Get into it.
So this reminds me of who's Berlanti, Greg Berlanti, and the other guy that did Arrow and Flash and all that stuff.
Yep.
That like they started off with really, really great. These two really, really great shows. First seasons for them were fucking amazing. And then they just went down this path of like shoving politics down people's throats and creating all these shows and all over the place and just got kind of too big for their own britches on what they wanted to do. And instead of like sticking to what got them there, the like small, fun, accurate stories that people wanted, and I think it blew up in their faces a little bit. I think Feige's kind of going down that same path a little bit. I'm hoping that he's not. I'm hoping that this has just been a big transition period from, phase, from the first saga into this saga. How do you transition from something like the Infinity Saga into a new basically new universe that they're creating. So it's I think that it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B maybe, but I'm hoping that he rights the ship at some point.
I don't disagree. Oh shit, I didn't mean to do that. I don't disagree. I think that you're kind of spot on because I feel like it's one of those things where Feige got to a point where he felt like he could do no wrong. Mm-hmm. And then it became, everything I do works. So let's make Eternals. Let's diversify the entire thing and change a lot about the characters from the comics. Let's completely try different styles. Let's make Thor more like, let's lean into the comedy more because that's basically what people liked about Thor Ragnarok. Yeah. And it's now it doesn't feel like the same MCU that we had for the first three phases. I do think there's plenty of time to right the ship, though. It's not like
I agree with that.
We're also in a post-COVID world where we don't know how many people want to go out to the theater and all that kind of stuff. So there was going to be a drop in the sales anyway. And then to add on top of that, the superhero fatigue, I think, it's just a kind of a number of things. And I think it will balance out before the end of the saga. You know what I mean? Everyone's going to kind of be amped for Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty. So let's see. ScytheX says, I also think it's Disney pushing him to pump out more content with Disney Plus. And since TV and movie is under one man now, he's spread pretty thin. That's kind of right on the money too. I mean, I don't everything to be perfect. You know what I'm saying? That much
I agree with that, but I also disagree with it on some level because, he's one man, but he's not like 100% hands on with every single project. He just kind of lays the overlay of like what the overall vision is and then doles it out to other directors. What I think is happening is he's picking the wrong creators for these things. I think he's picking the wrong directors. I think he's picking the wrong writers for them. I think losing certain writers and directors like the Russo brothers and Favreau and all of these guys kind of is showing a little bit now because he's trying to find new direction from new directors and new writers and creators and stuff like that. And I think one of the problems with him being spread too thin, as we're saying, is that he doesn't have the Russo brothers to lean on where he could be like, hey, Russo brothers, here's Civil War. Go make Civil War. This is the overall theme. I trust you guys to go do this. Like, right? Like, here's Endgame and Infinity War. Here's the story. Write it, direct it, do what you do. You know what I'm saying?
Well, he's so now doing that because the guy Dustin Lin, whoever was the creator or the showrunner for Shang-Chi is the guy who's handling Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars or one of the two. So like he is connecting that thread. The only problem is Shang-Chi was the first movie we got in phase 4 or the second movie, I guess, after Black Widow. We're not going to see that style or connective tissue again until the end of the phase. And to your point, the Russo brothers had a hand in what, like 5
the
movies?
The director of Shang-Chi was Destin Cretton.
Destin Cretton. I was way off. I think I confused him with Justin Lin.
Justin Lin does Fast and Furious.
I would. That was so inadvertently racist. I apologize. I very much apologize for that. But you see what I'm saying though, right? Like the Russo brothers were involved with like 3 or 4 movies leading up to the big event movie.
Yeah.
Infinity War. He is involved in Shang-Chi, and then he's not involved again until Kang Dynasty. That's a long gap. So
it's a long gap.
Nothing feels the same.
But it was like, throughout the MCU, Favreau did the first 2 Iron Man movies. Right. And then he did some like, little experimental things with Thor and the first Captain America movie. Didn't really work. Russo brothers get involved in Winter Soldier. Okay, boom. We found a director for Winter Soldier now. Like now they could definitely do Civil War. Right. So now let's see what else we got. All right. Let's try somebody else for the next Thor movie. That didn't work. Okay. Let's try somebody else for the 3rd Thor movie. Oh, Taika knocked it out of the park. We'll give him the 4th Thor movie. Taika fucked it up. You know what I'm saying? Like it just seems like they're trying out new directors for all these new projects.
So the argument against that though is that not Peyton Reed. Was it Peyton Reed who did Ant-Man? I think it was Peyton Reed.
Yes.
He's the guy who did all 3. Quantumania.
He did all 3.
Quantumania sucked. And who's
but I didn't think Quantumania sucked though. I thought Quantumania was good.
Yeah. The more distance I get, the more I'm like, that just wasn't what I wanted.
I think it just wasn't what people were expecting. Like, we're getting a lot of problems with all of that. You know what I mean? Like, that's the other thing is that the expectations are so high that he's not delivering to those expectations either.
Well, that's an issue with marketing though, because they really pushed Quantumania to be this major movie for Kang, and while he was great in it, it still wasn't. It didn't feel like Infinity War. You know what I mean? Infinity War was like a big deal,
but I don't think it was supposed to feel
shit of the Hulk.
But see, that's the thing. I don't think it was supposed to feel like Infinity War. I didn't think it was gonna feel like Infinity War. I thought it was gonna feel more like, kind of like more like the first Avengers, where you saw Thanos' army, but really not Thanos.
Yeah, but the marketing made it feel like it was gonna be like Thanos, Kang's Infinity War.
Yeah,
his real introduction, which it kind of was, but it just didn't land the same because he lost in this first movie.
Yeah, well, that Kang lost. Like this is why Kang is such a problem villain, bro. Like I know everybody's excited for Kang, but we're gonna be fighting multiple Kangs throughout this thing.
Yeah, but the mistake they made was introducing Kang. I guess they introduced him twice, right? They introduced him in Loki. He dies there. They introduced him in Quantumania. He dies there, quote unquote. He dies there. What they should have done, and for a guy like this, and you're gonna probably agree, is we should have already seen 5 or 6 different versions of Kang. They should have just kept bringing him back. Every time he loses, you bring back another version.
Yeah,
and then kind of like really sell.
But I think that's where we're going.
Right, but it might be too little, too late.
I mean, maybe, but I mean, not really, because most of Phase 4 was.
Introducing new people that we don't care about.
Either introducing new people or closing other threads, right? So now that that's done, now you can start introducing Kangs, left and right.
They better, man.
I think that's where
Kang
we're going.
Better appear in the next movie. We need to have Kang show up, a different version of Kang, over and over again. Just kind of make it relentless, kind of. You know what I mean?
Speaking of the next project,
hey, my mom joined the video.
Hola. Hey, Mom. Speaking of the next project, we have. What do we have? Guardians coming out in May.
Right. And that's James Gunn, so it's almost guaranteed that's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, like, this is one of those things that we were talking about before, that they found a good director for Guardians. They kept him, but they announced the date for Secret Invasion now.
Yes.
Which is going to be June 21st. That was one
of the big news is June 21st.
Yeah.
Let's go. So, I'm amped for that. I want a more, like, spy thriller. I like the kind of grounded stuff.
We're going to be able to see, Rhodey and Nick Fury again. Find out what's going on with them. This is also kind of hopefully going to lead into the Marvels, which got pushed to later on in the year. I think that's why they did that. so that they can have Secret Invasion lead into this a little bit and then bring us something. But I don't think we're going to get Kang again. Looking at the projects that are coming up,
even if it's an end credit scene, they need to have him show up.
I don't think he's showing up again.
As honestly, I'd be okay if Kang showed up as the new Stan Lee cameo. Let him just appear in every movie in a quick scene.
Yeah,
make it like just keep reminding us that he's around, he's watching, he's behind the scenes. You know.
Well, we know. I mean, listen. I think the next time we see him is Loki season 2, which we know is coming sooner than we I think anticipated.
Yeah, but that's fine. That's fine. Everyone kind of universally was into Loki, and everyone's curious. There was actually threads that were left open. So
yeah, I think, I think Loki season 2 is going to be the real okay, this is where we're really going with the Kang thing. Like, I think we're going to get multiple variants throughout Loki season 2. Did you hear the news about the Deadpool 3?
Which news? Because I mean, they're just really so. I know Ryan Reynolds wants to buy a hockey team and turn on Quebec into the new Los Angeles or something like that. So, or new Hollywood.
But besides all that, I'm talking about the Deadpool 3. The plot behind it is allegedly going to be Deadpool versus the TVA.
Nice.
Where basically they're going to continue the thread from Deadpool 2, where he went back in time using Cable's time machine, and he created a bunch of incursions.
Okay.
So now,
like killing Hitler and killing the
yeah. Like Deadpool is the reason why all these incursions are happening.
But you know what though?
Which is also how he gets Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, because he goes back.
Wolverines.
Yeah, there's going to be multiple Wolverines.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, I hope that's true. I'm here for it. I hope that's true. That'd be fantastic. I'd be so into it. Is Xavier in the movie? Scythe? I don't remember if I saw.
I don't know if he's in Deadpool 3. They were talking about they're possibly bringing in a bunch of different people that played X-Men.
They got to, Deadpool 3. You know what they got to do is they got to bring back James Marsden and have him kind of do Cyclops justice, because they bitched him out in the original trilogy, to be honest. And he deserves.
I'd rather not James Marsden come back to be Cyclops, to be honest.
Why not? He's a good Cyclops.
No, he's not.
What do you mean? Who's a better Cyclops besides the animated character?
No one, because no one else has ever played him. But that's not the point.
That's not true.
Oh, I'm sorry. Who's the other kid?
Nobody knows his name. He became the guy.
That kid. Come on, get out of here, bro.
That's what I'm saying.
I want to play
James Marsden.
James
Marsden's the best.
I want.
There was the kid from X-Men Origins Wolverine. I don't know his name either, but he played Cyclops.
Man. Hangman. Hangman should be Cyclops.
I don't even know who Hangman is.
Hangman from Top Gun Maverick should be Cyclops.
Oh,
there's no one else I want to play than Hangman.
No, Eastwood. Clint Eastwood.
No, it's not. Scott Eastwood could be somebody else. No,
that was Hangman.
No, it's not.
The one who left you out. He hung you out to dry.
That is not Scott Eastwood. I'll bet you $1,000 it's not Scott Eastwood.
Let's look it up. Let's see right now. Top Gun Maverick Hangman. Let's see. Who plays Hangman? They don't give me his name. Are you kidding me? Glenn Powell. Who the fuck is Glenn Powell? He looks like Scott Eastwood. All right, you beat me there. You got me there. My bad.
Miles Teller should not be Cyclops. I'm sorry.
Who says Miles Teller? Steve-O? Miles Teller? Why can't he be? No, he shouldn't be Cyclops.
Nah.
I don't think he plays Cyclops. Unless he's playing the drums. I don't know if he should play stuff for Cyclops.
No.
I'm not even looking at the comments here. Xavier and Magneto are apparently in the movie. All right. Are we getting Ian McKellen Magneto, or are we getting...
We're probably going to get all 4. Because they're time traveling.
All 4 actors?
Yeah. They're time traveling. Why not?
They better not screw this movie up. Speaking of Deadpool, actually.
What's going on, David?
Speaking of... Oh, that's my mom's husband. What's up?
Oh.
We got multiple people in the chat.
Everybody's here.
Speaking of Deadpool and rated R shit, it did come out that Vincent D'Onofrio basically said that Daredevil Born Again will not pull back the punches for the next season of Daredevil, which is good. I'm hearing it's going to be violent.
Have you seen the Barenthal news?
What did he say?
He's going to be in Deadpool Born Again.
Oh yeah, we talked about that. We talked about that.
I don't think we did.
Did we not?
We took a week off.
It's been a few weeks. Deadpool is coming back. John Bernthal's coming back, and we all knew. I think Scythe actually said it in one of the episodes, maybe on Multiversal podcast or here, that John Bernthal has been very vocal that he would not come back as Deadpool if they weren't. I mean, sorry, as Punisher. If they were going to change the character and kind of Disneyfy it, essentially. Yeah. So, excuse me. The fact that he's back is a good sign that we're going to get a more brutal kind of show, which is what it should be. There's
a huge rumor that's almost all but been confirmed that he is also going to be in Armor Wars.
He has to be. Oh God! You know the thing is, if they don't put him in the War Machine armor, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to lose my mind.
War Machine armor is so bad, bro.
It's the hands down best version of that armor, just looks wise and everything. And to have John Bernthal with his intensity in that armor, just mowing down fools, you know that they're going to do that. There's no way
they have to. They have to. There's no other option.
Not do that.
There's no other
option. I thought of when I read that. He's got to put on the armor and just go to town. And I want Rhodey to make a joke of like, I didn't realize I could be that violent in that outfit or something. Like, 100%.
He's just doing that 100%. Punisher scream like as the shoulder cannon.
I got goosebumps. You can't see it on camera, but I got goosebumps just thinking about that.
That'd God, bro. I'm so
Speaking of
segue.
Speaking of goosebumps, let's talk about Mandalorian. We're 2 weeks after the last episode. Did you watch today's episode?
I did.
Bro. Let me just pull up a cool image here. Hold on. Let's pull this bad boy up. We're going to present it. Let's see. Bam. Look at this thing. Look at this bad boy. This is just like, this gets me so fired up seeing all these Mandalorians in the armor.
Absolutely wild.
Like, so we basically missed. Last episode was a short one. It was essentially Din Djarin and Bo-Katan working with the Mandos, like training, being accepted into their group.
Yeah.
And we saw Grogu doing some training, and they basically earned their stripes by helping.
We actually haven't talked about the last 3 episodes. You realize that, right?
No, 2 weeks ago we talked about the first 2 or 3.
No, but
we talked about 3.
No, we didn't, because we filmed on Tuesday. It comes out on Wednesday.
Oh, well, who cares about the third one? That was a boring episode anyway. That was the New Republic episode.
Yes, the New Republic episode.
I mean, that wasn't boring, honestly, because clearly they're setting this up to explain away, or not explain away, but to do a better job of explaining Palpatine being cloned, Snoke being cloned. I think my kind of theory is that we're going to find out Thrawn is essentially on Exegol right now, which is the planet that was in Rise of Skywalker.
Yes.
And he's basically experimenting, trying to figure out how to make a clone that can handle the Emperor's dark side energy.
That's what I'm thinking.
It's very similar to what Dave Filoni did with Clone Wars and the Rebels show, where he basically made previous movies better. He made the Clone Wars movie a million times better by showing us the actual war.
Yes.
And even making Revenge of the Sith, or I'm sorry, Revenge of the Sith better. So, he's doing exactly that. He's doing what he does best.
Expanding the universe.
So I love the way he's bringing in characters slowly. He's connecting all the threads. He's really doing what I think Marvel has been trying to continue to do, and they're kind of slipping a little bit because maybe they're getting a little too big. He's kind of doing exactly that for the Disney World, which I'm loving. I'm here for. Speaking of Rebels, I actually have an image up already. Hold on. We got another live action Rebels character.
I know.
Zeb. When this guy popped up on screen, I could not believe it. I got so excited. I did not expect to see him.
You know what? I honestly wasn't sure if it was him or not, because I just thought it could be somebody else from his race or whatever. You know what I mean? But then I was like, oh, that's definitely Zeb.
I mean, he looks exactly like the character.
No. It's definitely Zeb. I just at first you're just kind of because you see the dog face guys, you see the lizard face guys, and you're just like, is that the guy? Is that not the guy?
Let me ask you this question. Yeah. Do you think he is going to be coming back? Is this like a hint that essentially he's going to be involved in the Ahsoka show, and we're going to see a live action kind of team up of all the characters from Rebels?
I mean, so far what we know is all of the Star Wars shows are going to be connected in some way, shape, or form, right? So we know that the pirates from the past couple episodes, are going to be heavily involved in Skeleton Crew. So you have to assume that nothing is like a one-off, So I'm assuming Zeb would come back for these shows. So
I hope he does.
I mean, and I don't remember the other guy's name, the other Rebel Starfighter guy, the Asian guy. I don't remember his name, but he's been a constant throughout the whole show anyway. So
I have a picture of him. Hold on. You talking about this guy over here? Let's pull him up. Oh,
yeah.
You talking about this guy here? Yep.
Yeah, he's been a constant through the whole show anyway. So I don't see how they would bring in Zeb and not use him later on.
It's cool that they're kind of like giving him a little bit more of a role too.
Yeah,
I love the kind of thread that he basically reached out to Mando because he knows that he was friends with Carl Weathers.
Yeah,
so that was like a nice little connection. I really love. So in this, anyone who watched today's episode, again, we're going to go into spoilers, but in this episode, the pirates that we saw in episode 1 and that Din Djarin basically embarrassed in episode, I want to say it was 3 or 4, returned to the planet that Carl Weathers' character's on. I think he's a magistrate or high magistrate or whatever he called himself.
Yeah, the high magistrate.
They took it over. They essentially said, we don't like this place being legal. We're going to make it illegal again. The Rebel Alliance, so the new Rebel Alliance was nowhere near them to kind of help. So this guy you see here on the left, I can't remember his character's name, reached out to Din Djarin and basically said, your boy is in trouble. And Din said, well, the Mandalorians need a place to stay. Let's stop hiding. Let's go save them. And then we got this episode where one of the best battle scenes of the show of Mandalorian. I mean, it was phenomenal seeing the Mandalorian.
Absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Honestly, it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, in my opinion, because this show has no right looking and being as good as it does. And it definitely sets the bar high for what we want out of the Disney Plus shows.
Yeah.
And then we go and watch the Marvel shows that are not hitting those highs. They're just not.
I mean, listen, I'll be 100% honest with you. There were some CGI missteps in this episode. Of course.
Yeah, I mean, it's not all perfect.
But I mean, at this point, like with the shows, I'm okay with it at this point because it is what I know. The budget's not as big as the movies, so they're not going to be able to get everything 100% perfect. So I just kind of let it slide at this point because I'm not going to sit here and bitch about oh, that ship took off a little funky, or that CGI shot where that guy got shot was a little weird,
Right.
Because at this point, you're just so immersed in the whole thing that I don't think it really matters.
It really was the whole finale of this episode with the Mandos showing up, and you see Jin using his ship again to just freaking obliterate pirates.
Yeah,
it was just so good. It was intense. You kind of knew that they were going to win, but I just loved it so much. I was so into it.
Yeah, and now they're going to rebuild Mandalore.
Right, so they're basically so the idea of Bo basically being sent out on a mission. Let me pull a picture of her up for anyone who hasn't seen this episode. What basically happens by the end of the episode is Bo-Katan is actually given permission by the armorer to take her helmet off, to go out and find other Mandalorians across the galaxy and bring them to this planet where they're basically going to be hanging out for a while, to build an army big enough, an army of Mandalorians to go back and take their home again, which is a phenomenal setup for what we're going to get in the remainder of the season.
Yeah.
It's a good payoff for her character as well. They still have not verified whether or not she has the Darksaber, which is a big question mark.
Yeah, we don't know who that is.
I think she is technically supposed to have it. I think because Din, he lost it to that creature on Mandalore, and then she fought that creature and won. So I think by the rules of Mandalorians, she technically owns the saber, but they haven't talked about it. We haven't seen it in 2 episodes now.
Yeah, we haven't. I don't know who.
So that's a big deal because if she shows that saber, then other Mandalorians are going to join her.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's what it is. But again, the armor is saying that she walks amongst both worlds because she is both understands the ways of the Mandalorian,
right?
Like the subsect super religious side, like these guys, and the other side where you take your helmet off and kind of live amongst the regular people. That's how she's able to go unite all the tribes of Mandalore. So
right.
It's going to be very, very interesting. We're going to get a lot of Mandalorians in this show, and
I'm loving it.
Seeing that whole side of things. I got a question for you because you have more Star Wars knowledge than I do.
Shoot.
When did the Mandalorian Wars take place in the Star Wars timeline?
That's a long time ago. That's way before.
It's way before, right?
Yeah, wait, I want to say it was pre
like the days of
episode
Jeddah
1 even.
and stuff, right?
Yes, I think it's way before anything we've seen on screen.
Okay, all right, that's what I thought.
So none of it has been shown to us or like that, or we've seen clips and scenes and heard stories, but in the books, I mean, it's a long time ago.
Yeah,
so that's why Jango Fett is kind of by himself. That's why Boba Fett is by himself for a long time. Like there's not the Mandalorians were in hiding for a super duper long time, and they were a very small group of people.
No, because I remember reading something about the Mandalorian Wars, and it was like certain Jedi turned against the Mandalorians, and they went hunting Mandalorians and stuff like that, and it kind of made them not Jedi, but just kind of like Force users that were under Jedi, and
that's all the old canon, the legend stuff. So I mean, obviously, the Disney is now borrowing heavily from a lot of the books and stuff like that. So we'll probably see that kind of stuff play out. But I don't know, I don't know how much we're gonna get, how much more Jedi stuff we're gonna get. I mean, they basically established that the only Jedi out there is Luke at this point in the show. And then they Ahsoka's a Force user.
Ahsoka's a Force user. She's definitely not a Jedi.
Right, she's a gray Jedi.
But there's got to be other ones hiding, right? Like we just haven't.
Yeah, I mean,
like Ezra's got to be there. Ezra's got to be there.
He's going to be in the Ahsoka show. They cast his character.
So
he's going to be there.
Cal's got to be there somewhere, right?
Cal Kestis is out there. He's going to make his live action debut at some point, and it's the same actor and stuff. So he's out there.
You have a couple other ones,
which means Cal's mentor is out there. So that's so right there is like 4. I did read that Mace Windu.
That's what I'm saying. Is Mace Windu still alive at this point?
As of right now, he's believed to be dead. That's basically how we can word it. We don't know. No one knows if he's alive or not.
And Yoda's technically still out there too.
Yoda's dead now. This is after episode 5. So Yoda's.
I thought this was in between 4 and 5.
No. Is it? I don't think so.
I don't know, honestly. I'm very lost on this is the one thing this show hasn't done well for us is explain where in this in the timeline that this show actually falls.
This says season 1 of The Mandalorian took place 5 years after the Return of the Jedi. Yeah.
Okay. So after
so this is after Luke basically kills Vader and the Emperor. So this is between
after
episode 6 and episode 7. Yeah.
Okay.
So Yoda's gone.
Yoda's gone. Vader's gone.
Right. Grogu's around.
Grogu's around. And then basically it's just Luke and whatever other weird Jedi are left. So you got to figure Ezra, Cal. I don't know. I wish there was a better timeline for Star Wars because it's very confusing.
I feel like you have to explain it. The one thing we got to keep in mind too is it seems like every flashback we get or every piece of information we get back to Order 66, we're seeing new Jedi, other Jedi escaping. So I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more Jedi out there than we know about.
That's what I'm assuming, but then they're missing the whole Vader hunting down Jedi thing.
Well, that's kind of where Thrawn technically is supposed to come into play. Although I think they're gonna, like I said, they're gonna show him doing something else. I'm assuming that's why they introduced Gideon, Moff Gideon, because he's kind of, it seems like he's gonna be one of the big bads or the big bad of the Mandalorian show.
If I'm not mistaken, and the Obi-Wan show kind of led us to this too, is that Vader and his Inquisitors are actively hunting Jedi. Well, that all happens before Mandalorian.
That's all before this. Yeah, that's all before this.
Yeah, so that's before episode 4.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
So
none of that comes into play.
Yeah, so then is Cal and Ezra. Ezra should be there, definitely, right? Because Ezra's
100%. The Rebels show ends after episode 6.
Yes.
So it's literally in the same time frame as this show. Same thing.
But Cal was around with Vader.
Yeah, but it takes place. Excuse me, but he's not dead. I mean, the games take place earlier, so the Fallen Order game takes place, I think, after episode 4. So it's between 4 and 5. I want to say. So Vader's still around. Vader's doing this thing. He's got Inquisitors.
I thought it was before 4. To be honest with you,
it may be before 4.
I thought Cal would be around when the Obi-Wan show is really happening. You know what I'm saying?
But I mean, that doesn't mean that he's not still around. You know, we'll see an older.
I mean, guys, technically that's true, but
right.
You know, how old would he be
die,
at that point?
You know?
Yeah, but how old would he be at that point?
He's only in his like 20s in the game, so he could be in his 40s now. He'd be the same age as Luke.
Yeah. See, the thing is, we also don't know how long the first 4, 5, and 6 are, as far as space time.
I think. I think the 4 and 5 took place within months of each other. Like the rebels win, then they're living on Hoth. The Empire comes back and all that shit. Then I think a year passes. I want to say for episode 6, but I could be making that up.
Yeah,
it's been a while since I've even looked at any.
And then it's 5 years. So Mandalorian takes place 5 years after episode 6. Right. So you're talking about Cal being almost.
He would
50.
be in his like 50s. Yeah, like late 40s, early 50s.
So if they get the same kid to play Cal, it's not going to work.
Yeah, you can age them up a little bit. Listen, they have 90-year-old Harrison Ford.
I'm just thinking, like, Jones, so I'm just thinking, like, this is the one problem I have with like the Star Wars connected universe that they're creating now, is that they have not done a good job about explaining what the timelines for all.
I think they're kind of leaving it up to us to figure it out on our own.
Yeah, and it's really frustrating.
It is, but I guess I'm at a point where it's almost like I'm not questioning it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, we're so used to like getting the MCU and all that stuff. I'm kind of like, let me just enjoy what I'm getting and not even worry about the details like that. Although I will at some point, it will bother me and I'll have to look it up. I'm sure I could find something online that sort of explains the timeline, but I did see an article earlier today on I think it was Screen Rant, where it was basically like why the timeline of the Mandalorian is all over the place. And I didn't read the details because I'm like, I just didn't even want to confuse myself. I enjoyed the episode too much.
No, and listen, the episodes have been amazing. What we've gotten so far, even like the Republic episode was good because it showed us at least like it's showing us slowly how the Empire is taking over the Republic from within.
I love that.
You know what I'm saying?
I do like the setup. It was just one episode. It kind of comes back into play a little bit here with that girl kind of showing up with fucking Tim Meadows.
Tim Meadows of all fucking people
appears out of nowhere. I was like, what is he doing here? But at least it tied it in, you know what I mean? So with the Republic episode.
Yeah.
I think the setup is good, and Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau in particular are really doing a good job about giving us little breadcrumbs to let us kind of piece the overall puzzle together without just rushing to the end, which is what I want, One thing I will say about this episode, and I'm going to share this picture, is that we finally got rid of this guy.
Yeah.
The leader of the pirates. He meets his demise in this episode. And
I have a funny feeling he's going to be back though, because I think he's.
So? Well, we didn't see the body, right? So
no, it's not that. Right? I think Skeleton Crew is going to take place before this.
Oh, maybe that could be.
And then he's going to be the bad guy pirate in Skeleton Crew.
I mean, look at the design of this guy. It's just creative as hell. I love it.
I know, it's so amazing.
It's like Grogu, not Grogu. It's like a Groot if he didn't trim his.
It's like Groot mixed with Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
It's just very like, and they try to make him look like seaweed almost, even though there's no ocean. He's a space pirate.
He's not,
you know what I mean?
Right?
Like, he's supposed to look like one of those dead pirates from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Besides any of these characters, some of the big reveals in this episode was that Gideon didn't make it to trial. So at the end of season 2, I think he was captured, and as far as we knew, he was in prison. We find out today that he was freed or rescued or whatever you want to call it on his way to the trial. Mm-hmm. And the other big kind of mic drop moment was that he was actually rescued by what looks to be rogue Mandalorians. They had Beskar armor and they
allegedly
attacked the ship.
The only thing is that it's Beskar. You know what I mean? That could be
anyone could have that, right? Like, we don't know who. Maybe somebody has a skill to actually manipulate the armor, and it's not just the armorer, which is one thing they'll learn, I guess. But Moff Gideon's still out there, and you know he's going to want to get his Darksaber back, and I don't know, get his ranking back with the Empire. So that's a big reveal, and I think that points towards him being a more specific big bad for the Mandalorian show.
Yeah, because didn't the where Jin got his spear from? They had Beskar
from. Yeah, but he got that from Mando, from the armorer, didn't he? Where'd you get that from?
No. Remember he fought the person with the spear on that planet in season 2?
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah, but we don't know that person created the spear. For all we know, they took the spear from a different person.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like the Mandalorians are not the sole owners of all the Beskar ever.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
well, yeah, and even Boba Fett had to get his armor back from Timothy Oliphant. So they had to bring his character back, man. His character was awesome.
He's dead.
Did he die?
Didn't he die in Boba Fett? Yeah, he died.
Yeah,
Pretty sure he died.
Because
we were all upset that he died because we wanted to see him be like Marshall. Yeah. Remember
of the episode.
Cad Bane killed him. He killed him in the showdown.
You're right. But the speaking of Cad Bane, the best moment of this episode was the pirate that kind of looked like Cad Bane being like, yeah, out. Like we had a good run, but I'm done. He just he knew he was gonna get killed.
Which
like,
he might end up being the pirate from Skeleton Crew. Also, like there's the possibility of that, but again, like
this is why the show is so good, right? There are threads there that we can see now that can easily connect, but it's not explained to us 100%. We're gonna find out shit when we watch the show, but they really do a good job of setting up these connections.
Because we have 2 new Star Wars shows coming out, right? Skeleton Crew and Acolyte.
Yep,
and Ahsoka. Yep. So we have 3.
And Ahsoka, but Ahsoka is not for a while still. I think Ahsoka. I don't think it's until next year.
Yeah, but I don't think
Crew. I think is later this year.
Is it?
I want to double check, but
I don't think Acolyte's till next year either.
That's probably not until next year.
Yeah, because I haven't even heard anything about that. But
Skeleton Crew is this year for sure.
Okay.
When does Ahsoka come out? Ahsoka is set to come out. It says fall of 2023, but maybe they'll change that up.
Yeah, I mean, really, Mando would run until Secret Invasion.
Acolyte is next year. Yeah,
right. Mando's going to run until Secret Invasion. Secret Invasion will run until Ahsoka, and then Ahsoka will probably run until Skeleton Crew.
It's Ahsoka, not Ashoka.
Whatever, man.
Ahsoka.
There's an H in there.
It is spelled the way you're saying it, but that's just not how it's said. Yeah. Let's see. Let's go John Wick 4 because now we got to pivot. We're gonna pivot to John Wick. I don't know. Did we miss anything about Mandalorian? I don't think we missed. I think we.
I mean, it was amazing. I don't know what else to say.
Right, like we can kind of keep just saying that over and over again. It was fantastic, and you should absolutely watch it if you haven't yet. Yeah. But then we're gonna pull up the man of the hour. This is the guy that I just really want.
I will say just real quick on the Mandalorian thing that the Pirates' giant Corsair ship looked amazing.
That was cool. The visuals were great in this episode.
Yeah,
the way they used it was cool. I love the scene the Mandalorians all kind of fall out of the ship on their way in. We got another scene. Actually, probably my favorite scene of the whole episode was when Din was fighting the pirate ships, the small ones, and the pirate that runs away is like, he's above you, and then like within seconds he just shoots him and goes down. Now he's below you. He goes up. Now he's behind you, and he kills him again. And it's kind of like, fuck, man, this guy's too fast.
We've seen this another best
scene about how good that ship is.
Yeah, we've seen the best dogfight Star Wars scenes in The Mandalorian.
Oh, hands down.
So far.
Absolutely.
So, in any of all of Star Wars. So
I think so too. Yeah. Like Rogue One, the space battle at the end of Rogue One is
the battle on the beach.
Well, not just the battle on the beach, like just everything. We had the battle in space, the battle on the beach, and then like the guys on undercover trying to get their shit done.
Yeah, the battle on the
beach,
like
overall war scenes. In Star Wars, but that space battle for me is like really like the bar that everything needs to hit. Mandalorian is the only other thing that's come close or even matched the awesomeness of those battles.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And don't listen. I'm not taking away from the original Star Wars movies; those are classics for a reason. You know, for their time, they were very innovative and all that kind of stuff. But when you watch them now, they don't hold up as well.
No, they don't.
I feel like Rogue One, you'll watch 20 years from now, and that space battle will still be as intense and as awesome.
That beach scene is going to feel just as intense. I want
100%.
I want that Creedence Clearwater song to be playing during that Fortunate Son.
I do want them to visit that style of battle in Star Wars. We still haven't really seen. Now I'm not talking.
We saw it in Rogue One
portion of it.
Yeah, we
saw it in Rogue One. But I'm saying that was so intense to see the Empire from that perspective. To see the AT-ATs. I want to see more of that. You know, like I would love to see them explore that kind of stuff more. But,
absolutely.
You know, beggars can't be choosers. We're getting some good stuff with Mando right now. Mando's hands down the best Star Wars show. It's not even close.
100%.
But now talking about the best property and franchise. Segue. My first question to you is: John Wick 4 the best one out of all the John Wicks?
So action-wise, like raising the bar wise, absolutely. I think there's a special place in my heart for the first one
because of how, right? You don't get John Wick 4 unless you get
but it's something about not even that, like the simplicity of the story in the first one, and just the more mystique about John Wick than anything else. Where like that whole scene where John Leguizamo calls the Russian guy, and he's like, I heard you hit my son. He's like, yeah, I did, but your son didn't tell you what he did he? And he's like, what did he do? He's like, he stole John Wick's car. And he's like, oh no.
Yeah.
And he killed his dog. And you see the look in the guy's face, and he just starts beating the crap out of his son. He's like, you don't understand what you've done. This is the Baba Yaga.
I love when he goes, it's not when his son's like, oh, because I stole a car. He's like, it's not what you did. It's who you did it to.
Who you did it to. You don't understand.
My favorite line in John Wick 1 is when he goes, you won't do anything because you can't do anything.
Yeah.
Like, I'll have to try and deal with it. And even he knows, like, it's probably not going to work out for me, but I'm going to try my best.
Like he knows at that moment that they're all dead.
This movie was just,
so. But this movie, going back to this movie, like, wow.
I agree with you. Like, you don't get this movie, right? If we don't have the first one, and the first one is unbelievable, holds up well. I love all of them, but I would say this one is the closest to basically. If I'm giving them rankings, I guess it would be the first movie because it started the franchise. This movie because this movie elevates action. I could see it influencing action scenes for the foreseeable
100%, 100%,
and they all technically do that, but this one's like. It's just on another level, man. Every character in this movie is amazing. They're all like, they're just
Donnie Yen is absolutely amazing in this movie.
He steals the movie. I mean, like he really, as the blind assassin, almost you root for him. You know what I mean? And we're going into full spoilers, so I'm just gonna say it. At the end of this movie, Donnie Yen kills John Wick. All right, I gave you guys enough chance last week. Allegedly, we'll get to that. We'll get to that later. But as far as this movie is concerned, he kills John Wick, right? They did a great job with his character when he kills the hero of the franchise, and you're not even upset about it. You're kind of like, yeah, you know what? You kind of knew it was going to come because he was just that amazing with his abilities throughout the entire movie. So good, and I love the detail that he willingly gave his eyes to the high table.
Yes.
And to become this like blind assassin, that's just freaking phenomenal. Like, it's just a nice little wrinkle to his personality.
I thought he did it to save his daughter.
Yeah, they say that. Who knows? I guess they threatened him. He had to be an assassin. I don't know why he had to be blind, but who knows? They don't fully explain everything, which is fine.
It's fine. It's the John Wick universe.
Just speaking of them elevating action for going forward, we had basically a continuation of everything we've seen from previous movies, right? There's a character with a dog, and it's used in an inventive way where you're kind of like, I want a dog and I want to train him to do exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
They introduce us to new assassins in this world. We see a full-blown war happen at a whole nother continental hotel in Hong Kong, I think it was.
Osaka.
Sorry.
I was very impressed that they used Osaka instead of Tokyo.
Yeah, which the default they always go to Tokyo, but
default they always go to Tokyo. I was very happy that they went to Osaka, especially since Osaka in Japan. This is where like my martial arts knowledge goes a little like too crazy, but Osaka was really the birthplace of most martial arts in Japan. So it makes sense.
That's why Chad Stahelski wanted it.
Yeah, which is why it makes sense that Osaka would be the home of the Continental. But go on. Sorry, I didn't cut you off there.
No, but like you get a sword fight with Hiroyuki Sanada versus Donnie Yen. Like you get sumo wrestlers. We have John Wick just manhandling people with nunchucks.
Archers. Like, the nunchuck scene was, oh my god, bro.
So they talked about it, right?
So happy to see them use nunchucks properly once in a movie, bro.
Yeah,
like,
it wasn't nonsense flashiness. Like it wasn't any of that. It was literally like, I'm just gonna fuck people up.
Like legit on how to use nunchucks in a combat situation.
Yeah.
Like, all right, so this is something a lot of our viewers may not know about your man Zuplex City here is that he is trained in a couple of different martial arts. All right. And I have trained in nunchucks before. I have a couple pairs. I'm able to use them pretty decently. However, watching John Wick use nunchucks in an actual combat situation and be effective with them is something we've never seen in a movie before.
Right.
Never seen it.
Right. Like,
never seen it.
Arguably, people would say that you've seen it in the Bruce Lee movies, right? But go back and watch those movies.
Kind of.
He puts on a show. He tries to like intimidate or whatever. Then it's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. Nunchucks are done. Which okay, fine. I guess that's
he smacks a guy in the face. Then he does 20 minutes of twirling it around his body, and then he smacks another guy in the face, and then he's like,
Like here, you don't have that. Every time John Wick switches hands with the nunchucks, he does it because he's spinning to fight another assailant. You know what I mean? He's not just flash for flash sake, which is what the fight scenes have always been. It's always about getting him to the ground, getting him dead, and moving on as quickly as possible. And you see that here.
At one point, he's holding them both in one hand and using it like a rattan stick, right?
Yeah.
So that is something that you're taught on how to actually use nunchucks the proper way, is that you can do that with them. You know, and
they're just not to spin.
Movie. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you get a horse scene, right? Because they did a horse scene in the last one, so you got to put a horse scene in this one. You get fucking, in my opinion, 2 of the hands down best action scenes I've ever seen. One of them being the kind of final stairway fight. Although I felt that particular fight went a little long, it was just phenomenal. It was really well done.
See, I felt it. I didn't feel that it went long because it was kind of in the tradition of like Old Boy and The Raid and all of these.
I got the same kind of, like, it was like an ode to those kind of movies.
But I felt like it should have been. I know, like John Wick is gun fu, right?
Yeah, that's what they call it.
Yeah. But I feel like it should have been more hand-to-hand combat than with guns on that stairway fight. Because I think it just would have flowed a little bit better. I know he's John Wick, so he always is got a gun on him and everything like that, but really they could have really like accented his martial arts side.
Before I get into what Steve says here, and it's
that's the best scene of the movie.
Best scene of the movie, and in my opinion, the best action scene in probably the last decade. Since maybe the Matrix Revolutions highway chase, this scene is probably the best action scene we've ever seen. And you know, let's just get into it, and we'll go into my gripes about the movie later on. The overhead view of the last building was absolute masterpiece. You couldn't have said it better, because number one, it's a one shot. There's 2 long takes for this entire action scene, which is unbelievable. The camera starts on the ground level, watching John go through room to room, and then just slowly hovers above him. It's like playing Hotline Miami. The camera's facing down, and for the first time, one of my favorite parts of this is that we get to see the bad guys before John does. So we kind of almost hold our breath of like, how is he gonna fight this guy? You know what I mean? And we just see John taking him down. They added incendiary bullets.
Dragon's breath. Dragon's breath.
That is just beautiful. It was like poetry in motion. It was just so nice. And it was just such an intense scene. They do it twice in this one action scene. And it's just Chad Stahelski, for anyone who doesn't know, he's the director of the John Wick movies. He basically created him, essentially. He started off as a stuntman. He did a lot of fight choreography. He was Keanu Reeves' stunt double in the original Matrix movies. He's been in the action world for a long time. He just has this way of being able to show you the landscape and keep the action, no shaky cam. He puts everything on screen and you could see it clearly. And he does it in a way where you're never confused. You always know what's happening and who's doing what and whatever. And it's just that scene, man, had me like at the edge of my seat. Like, holy fuck, we're watching history with that fucking action scene. It was so good. So good.
It's absolutely insane that they were
able to pull that off. We haven't even talked about the club scene, because they have to put a club scene in there with my favorite martial arts star out there right now, Scott Adkins, who steals his scenes. I mean, he's funny.
Then he starts fighting, and you see the classic stat actions, like spin kicks.
Klaus stole that whole scene for me.
I am Klaus.
I am Klaus. I am Klaus.
It's just so good. Donnie Yen has the funniest joke in the entire movie when they're playing cards in the club scene, and John pulls out I guess it's like a 4 of a kind. The tracker pulls out the royal flush, whatever. And Donnie Yen's like, "Well, let me look." Like, even though he's blind, he's just kind of playing along. And then he's like, let me guess, John. He's got 5 2s, and John's like, "Yep." It's just like, it's just so
my
good,
favorite
man.
Donnie Yen scene in this movie, though. Now that we're talking about Donnie Yen, though, is where he's eating ramen in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And he's
like,
just
kind of
eating,
like annoyed that he's got to stop.
And the high council guy's like, "Would you do something?" And he's just like, "Oh,
yeah." It's like,
all right, fine.
But talk about badass, though. He literally slurps down the rest of his little ramen soup, puts it down. There's a big war happening. He just walks out, just nonchalantly. Someone goes to shoot an arrow at him, and he just ducks under it and then kills the guy in 2 seconds. You're just like, holy
the doorbell ringing thing was absolutely absurd.
Did you not think those were explosions or explosives?
No, I thought so. I didn't know they were doorbells. I thought it was something that was going to emit a sound for him. I kind of pieced that together right away because, like, he's blind.
I thought they were going to be like distractions or something. Like he was going to have him go off. Maybe not an explosion, but something to just make people like look or whatever. I did not think it was literally just going to be a doorbell.
I thought it was just going to be like a subtle beep, like something that like he would hear, but they wouldn't catch on to. You know what I'm saying? Like a boom, like a boom, like a blip almost when it goes ding dong. Like, oh my god, the doorbells.
It was so good. Even like Donnie Yen just has mastered the art of the blind like fighter. We see Matt Murdock right in Daredevil do it, and I'm not taking anything away from Charlie from what's the name?
Charlie Cox.
From Charlie Cox. Yeah. He does a great job playing the character, but he
does a phenomenal job of doing it.
But he is a superhero, and it's kind of like understood that even though he's physically blind with all his extra senses, he still can kind of see anyway. In this movie, we constantly see Donnie Yen just reaching and touching things and making sure he knows like his bearings, and they do it so well that you really believe this guy can't see shit, and he's fucking everybody up. Yeah, it's just so good.
What was another point where they he throws a flashbang and just stands in the middle of it?
How great is that though? Just a great detail. Like, it's not going to bother him, so he just like. Oh, it's just so good, man. I will say there are a few things now that I've had a few days to kind of calm down from the high, because I just love the movie so much that stood out to me. One of them being with the stairway fight that we were talking about before. I agree with you. It should have been more hand-to-hand combat, right?
Yeah.
Because there was nothing to really take cover behind. And one thing that they have to kind of ease up a little bit on is the fact that John just lifts his jacket up.
Yeah, the bulletproof suits kind of get to me a little bit too much. Like,
what bothers me though is that the people he's fighting also have bulletproof suits. So how come when he shoots them, they feel it and they fall and whatever, but when they shoot him, he'll just take bullet after bullet after bullet, and it's like no reaction to it.
See, so like the lifting the jacket thing kind of makes a little bit more sense to me, because if you lift the jacket and then there's a flap here, the bullet's hitting the flap. It's not hitting your body, right?
Like, he doesn't get hit in the hand. Like,
but see, like, that's the thing. Like the bulletproof suit thing, I know they've been using it for a few movies. It's the one aspect of John Wick that always kind of just was just like,
well, it depends on how they used it. Back in John Wick 2, he has it, but he doesn't rely on it so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He gets shot and he feels it, and he gets stabbed, and obviously the stab still gets him. But like he doesn't just flat out go, I'm not gonna take cover, I'm just lifting my jacket up and I'm good. In this one, there's a lot of scenes where I'm like, when they're
doing it too. So it's just kind of like,
and it's just a little too much, right? Yeah. Listen, I know the movie's not a realistic movie. It's not meant to be. But
that's why this is both the most realistic gunfight movie and unrealistic gunfight movie at the same time because of these reasons,
Aside from that, my other little kind of gripe, which it's almost like as the movies get on and a little crazier and whatever, it stands out more, is okay, let's say we fully believe the bulletproof suit, you completely don't feel the bullets, right? Let's just say it's vibranium and you don't feel the bullets.
Yeah, which is the most
What you will feel, though, is being hit by a car at 100 miles an hour 7 times in a row, and your neck is flapping back and forth and whatever. Like, it doesn't protect you from a concussion. You know what I mean? Like,
that's why the scene when he jumps out the window.
Well, so that scene is crazy. He hits that freaking girder on the way down or whatever. There's the scene where he gets
car. He hits the car and just fucking lands on the concrete. I was like, oh my God.
And he gets up. He gets up and just walks away. Like he's a little, it's almost like it's more of a minor inconvenience. Scott Adkins kicks him off that balcony. He hits that thing on the way down, goes spinning. And like, at least he kind of like gets up a little like, oh, that didn't feel great. But then he just starts kicking ass again, you know?
Yeah.
And then there's a whole action scene at the Arc de Triomphe, I think it is. And there's a lot of traffic and a lot of people get hit by cars. But John in particular, the scene starts with John. He gets hit by a car that's flying in there. Gets up, gets hit by another car. That car hits him so hard that he goes flying into a truck. He gets up, he fights somebody, then gets hit again. I'm like, yo, something's got to be broken. An arm, a kneecap. Like, something has to hurt, you know?
Yeah.
Whiplash.
Well, so speaking of that scene, when he starts this scene off and he's walking across the street and he starts noticing all the assassins around him, everybody just opens gunfire on each other in the middle of the road. Right. At least in John Wick 2, they were using silencers. They are no longer using silencers, right? So, like, you could kind of understand that, you know, when him and Common are firing at each other in the
train station.
Yeah, they're using silencers. Like, maybe no one notices. Pew 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 pew. You know, that type of shit. Maybe, all right, I could kind of believe that no one notices. They're in the middle of a fucking traffic area. People are eating and drinking coffee at cafes.
You see people at the cafe.
You see people, and they're just opening fire on each other in the middle of the street, and no one at any point is like,
well,
gunfire?
I think it's the rule of cool, you know, because even if you think about it, if you remember in the club scene, you know, him and Scott Adkins and these guys are fighting each other and beating the hell out of each other, stabbing each other, shooting each other.
Around them.
People are just dancing. I think I noticed once somebody looked like, oh my God, like, what's happening? But like, otherwise everyone's just enjoying themselves, and I'm like, I guess they're just used to this, you know.
So, those are the points where it's like, ugh.
Yeah, well, you have to just enjoy it, go along for the ride.
Exactly.
You know? But my other thing that this kind of bothered me, this is probably my real, those things are more like nitpicks. Like, I hope they adjust it a little bit for future movies so it doesn't stand out as much. But my one like real kind of like, I didn't really like this part is, well, there's two things. One is the tracker. So there's a new character in the movie who he calls himself he's a tracker. Everyone calls him Mr. Nobody. He's the character with the dog. Cool ass character. Has one of the best lines in the movie at the end of the movie when everything happens and he starts laughing and he just goes, "That's pretty good." Like, you know, like, it's just a really good line. But in order to prove himself dedicated or loyal to the high table, he gets his hand stabbed on a table. And then instead of pulling the knife out, he pulls his hand through. Like, that was like what he was supposed to do. The very next scene, his hand is wrapped up and he's grabbing things. He's punching bad guys. He's doing all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, dude, your hand is sliced in two. There's zero chance that you're going to do anything with that hand.
Even when John Wick's hand is fucked up, you see when he's doing the dueling pistols, he's not using his thumb to bring it back.
Yeah, you see him using, he's forcing it kind of because he can't.
Yeah, he's got to like force his whole hand because he can't grab it because Kane stabbed him in the hand because he owed him.
Which was such a random thing that Kane did, and I loved it though. I was like, oh yeah, you know, you owed him. But like, you know, so that's probably the one thing that I look a step too far from me. I'm like, he at least if he hit somebody and then was just like, you know, like, it just reacted, it would have been fine. But he's punching people, he's being all suave, he's grabbing shit, and I'm like, your hand has to be throbbing in pain. What, like, you know, there's no way how tough you are. You're not wearing Kevlar gloves. You got to be able to.
But the thing I enjoyed about the tracker the most was that, so he has the dog, he's got the backpack, but his weapons of choice are like an old school revolver and a lever action rifle, and I was like, that is so badass, dude.
It's like almost out of place, but it's just
but he's got like the modified new version of a lever action, like a Marlin with the like a rail on it and everything like that, and he can kind of like, and he's taking it apart, putting it back together, putting it in his pack and stuff like that.
I love where he takes the book bag and like flips it over in front of him, and it acts as a bulletproof vest. It was cool.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a cool character. I will say he had a little bit of like the Indiana Jones syndrome, where if you remove his character from the movie, nothing really changes. So like, he didn't really need to be there. I'm wondering though if he was introduced. You know, there's a lot of characters for future spinoffs. We already have 2 spinoffs coming out. There's the Continental show and the Ballerina movie.
Yeah.
So those 2, I'm here for. I'm into it. But I would love to see a movie maybe with Hiroyuki Sanada's daughter. I think her name was Akira in the movie.
Akira, yeah.
She wants revenge on Donnie Yen, and if you stay to the end credits, you don't know yet if she had that revenge or not.
Yep.
I would love to see that.
Cool. A cool point, like nod to like Tarantino and Kill Bill is like when Kane looks at her and goes, "I'll see you again soon."
Yeah,
because he knows that he's gonna come and try and come back and kill him. It's just the you got to avenge the fallen.
Yeah, he's not a dummy. You know what I mean? He knows what he did. He knows the choice that happened. You know.
Yeah.
I would love to see a movie on the tracker though, or a show. I would watch that. I mean, the character was cool as shit.
100%.
Can we talk about the fact that Lance Reddick died a week and a half ago?
Do you think that they went back and added that into the movie? That line?
No. Wait, which line?
Where they're on the boat and he's like, I had to bury my concierge. And I had so many words, I don't know what to put on his tombstone. And John says to him, well, what'd you end up putting? He goes, just what he was, friend.
Yeah. You know, they could have.
I was when they said it, I was like, did they go back and add this in? Because it's so.
It would be, if they did, that'd be a kind of a baller move on their part.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, they could have. Right? ADR is easy.
ADR is easy.
Have
But
Ian
also,
McShane in front of a green screen in his house. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need much to have him just. It was just zoomed in on his face when he said it, so it's not like you needed an entire set or a cast. You just needed him to record himself saying it. So they could have. I would love if they could verify that, to be honest, because that would be a really nice kind of little.
It just seems so perfect and such a like a great homage to the late great Lance Reddick that I was sitting there in the theater. They said the line and I was like, did they add this in afterwards, or was just the greatest timing of all time? Like
John, I went to see it with the captain himself, and he hit me on the arm, and he was like, "Yo, this guy just died, and now he's getting shot in the movie. Like, that's crazy."
Yeah,
I definitely was like, "Oh shit!" Like, they obviously didn't know. They didn't plan it.
No, but I mean,
I thought the Marquis, played by I think it's Bill Skarsgård, was an asshole, which is exactly what you wanted him to be. I was so happy that he got killed at the end.
See, my thing is this. This is one of my big problems with the movie, is that John Wick always has to go up against all of these guys that really aren't worthy of fighting John Wick. Right. But they have 100%. Armies behind them, right?
Right, they're in charge.
But at least when he gets down to the last guy, there's some sort of, there's some sort of formidable against them. Like, especially in 2. I can't remember the guy's name. But, when he finally gets to him, he fights him a little bit. You know what I mean?
No, because in 2, he kills the guy in the Continental in New York. The guy runs to the Continental.
You're right.
Really, the only one where he actually went hand to hand with the final boss, if you will, was the first one. No, it was the first one. No. Yeah, in 3, they fought the army of people.
Yes.
Remember the High Table sent an army, him and Lance Reddick or Sharon fought like this whole army basically, and then he basically goes to Winston, who's talking to the arbitrator or whatever she called herself. I can't.
Arbitrator
are ridiculous. Yeah. And then Winston shoots him off the roof.
Yeah.
So he didn't have like a final fight in any of them except for the first one.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, it's just
one too, right? Because he fought Donnie Yen, but it was
there's something about not having the final boss fight in these movies that always
that is one thing that I would like. But honestly, I feel like Common in John Wick 2 was a phenomenal guy to go toe to toe with. John won the first fight, and he left him alive on purpose. He literally said, "If you take this out, you're gonna die. I'm gonna leave you here. It's a professional courtesy." They left that thread open. Why have they not brought him back?
I mean, Khan could be in his own movie one day. Who knows?
Again, this Chad Stahelski knows how to introduce characters that I would 100% want to see in the future. I'm wondering if the tracker is not related to Halle Berry.
So I was wondering the same thing the whole movie. I was like, is they going to wind up saying this is like Halle Berry's brother or something like that? Or didn't she have a son in that movie?
She said it, that she had a son. So who knows? This could be the son, and maybe there'll be a spin-off movie. We'll kind of see that happen. I'm down for that, 100%.
Yeah,
like every character is just amazing. I want to see a prequel of Scott Adkins in the fat suit, being the boss, the high table guy,
with,
whatever.
With Klaus.
With
I am Klaus.
I am Klaus.
I'm Klaus.
And I would love to see Kevin Nash making a come back as his character in the prequel and find out he was working for Scott Adkins.
But I mean, it's what these movies have done so well is really built out this entire universe
100%
of characters. And like, so now here's the issue that they have, because the same people that made John Wick, they made Atomic Blonde, they made Mr. Nobody, there was one more. What's the other one that they made?
Well, Chad Stahelski. Well, they were all directed by.
It's like
people,
producers.
The writing teams are the same. Yeah,
the writing teams are
and producers
the,
group.
Yeah,
Extinction. They did Extinction too.
No, but there was another like.
Extraction.
But there was another like standalone like this person kills everybody assassin movie that they made. It's Atomic Blonde, Mr. Nobody, all the John Wicks, and then somebody else. I can't remember who it was. And now they have another one coming out.
Let's see.
That's World War II era called Sisu.
Yeah, that one's coming out. Let's see. They did Atomic Blonde. Hold on. I know they did Hitman Agent 47. Safe. Are you thinking of Safe?
No.
From 2012? No.
It was something pretty recent. Remember we talked about it on the podcast.
Wicked Game?
No.
That's 2022. Let's see. I see the B. That's not it though. No, I don't. I think that's all of them. Like they've been involved in a lot of movies, but I think as far as like the assassin kind of thing, they've basically named all the ones.
I think there's one I'm missing, but we'll figure it out at some point. But now, like they all can't be in the same universe because they're made by different studios.
Which that sucks.
Which sucks.
So they did hint. Chad Stahelski did drop hints that in his mind, Mr. Nobody, the Bob Odenkirk movie, and the John Wick movies are in the same universe. But I think those are the only two that are under the same kind of production studio.
Yeah.
Or same.
No, they're not. They're not
like
made
the
by the
rights
same
studio or whatever it is. No,
No,
but like
they're not.
The movie rights belong to the same company.
No, they don't.
Like the marketing and all that stuff. I thought they did. Well,
No,
he said
that's
that they're
the
in the same
problem.
universe. So
Lionsgate owns one, and then somebody else owns the other.
I don't want the spin-offs. I want to know all the movies that they're in.
It might be distribution rights.
Distribution rights. That's the word. That's what.
Yeah.
That's the word.
Yeah. Distribution rights are different. Because I had looked it up at one point when I saw Stahelski talking about that. I was like, are they going to cross them over? And there's just no way they can. It's like a Sony Marvel problem now.
I don't see it. It'll take more digging, but it's you can find it online, sure.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, though, like getting away from John Wick now, because even if they do end up bringing him back, which they obviously can, because the end of the movie is very
just for
open.
reference, he is coming back for the ballerina because that's a prequel. So him and Ian McShane are going to reprise their roles, which means John Wick's gonna have another action scene in that movie. But as far as a sequel to this, we don't know.
Didn't number 2 have a ballerina in it? Didn't he
go
to
number 3 actually did, when he travels to Russia, I want to say, in John Wick
3,
and speaks to Angelica Houston, who is the head of the high table, I guess. In her,
I was getting her and the Italian chick mixed up.
So in the background, you see a ballerina on stage practicing. That's the ballerina that the movie is based on, is going to be about. But
that's what I figured.
In that movie, it was played by an actual ballerina, and it's been recast
as Anna de Armas.
Spin-off for Anna de Armas,
which is an excellent choice. Excellent choice.
Yeah, she's proven herself in action in James Bond. In Gray Man, she's worth it.
She got that new one coming out with Chris Evans too.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, so I'm all for that. Like I really want them to start building out this universe because this could be an amazing universe.
Yes. Hell, I'm all for it. The Continental Show is going to be a prequel. The Ballerina is a prequel. I want to see. They already said they're going to do a John Wick 5. Not Chad Stahelski and not Keanu Reeves. They haven't confirmed if they're going to be involved yet, but the studio has already said, it's happening.
Yeah, so it's going to be John Wick 5, The Rise of Cain.
Yeah, I'm down. You know what, which is fine. It's a shame that Donnie Yen isn't as famous or popular, I should say, in America as Jackie Chan was. He deserves it 100%. I hope that this movie kind of gives him that platform to blow up in America.
Yeah,
I mean, he's popular. I'm not saying he's not popular, but he's not Jackie Chan level.
He's huge in Asia.
Yeah, but, I'm talking about America specifically.
Yeah, but in America specifically, like everybody knows him for Ip Man.
Like he doesn't have the Rush Hour. You know what I mean? Jackie Chan was getting big, and then came out with Rush Hour, and became this star in America. Donnie Yen deserves that. In this movie, 100%, he earns that right. Like he's freaking ridiculous in this movie. I love it.
Yeah, he steals the movie. He steals the movie away. This is more about Kane and less about John Wick. You know.
Yeah.
Which I think was on purpose, because then this way they could build out a Kane series now. You know.
I hope. I would. You know what I would love to see. Series. Speaking of a Kane series and a Kira series, what I would like to see, because for anyone who stayed for the credits, there's a scene where Kane, Donnie Yen's character, is basically reuniting with his daughter, and as he's about to reunite with her, we see Akira kind of, not appear out of nowhere, but reveal herself and pull out a sword and start walking towards Kane. And then then it cuts to black. So the implication is that she tries to get her revenge in that moment. I would love to see a movie spinoff where maybe Kane beats her in a fight, whatever it is, and sort of convinces her that he'll teach her or become like a new mentor for her to like learn how to be an assassin, essentially.
Yeah.
And like kind of see them. I would love to see that kind of journey happen on screen. 100% I'd be here for that. The blind assassin just teaching her how to be a baller. Although she was already badass in this movie. I mean, she was fucking people up left and right too.
I'm very, after seeing like all the different Continentals, because we've seen the Rome Continental, the New York Continental, the Osaka Continental. I'm really excited for the Continental show, just because I think having that idea of all of these different hotels being a hotbed for assassins,
right under our nose,
like right on our nose, is such a, like, there's so much that they could do with this universe because they built it out so smartly. Like even the first one where John goes to the bank and the bank is run by the Hasidics, right? And they they have like all of the gold and all of his stuff in like safety deposit boxes and all of this stuff. Like, and then you go to like the switchboards with the chicks that are all like what do they call
tatted
it?
Up and just like kind of classic.
Well, like got a little, but also like 1950s, like rockabilly. They call that like rockabilly look. Yeah. Where they're all like rockabilly chicks that are sitting there like, all right, well, here we go. We're gonna up the ante on John Wick's thing. Blah blah blah.
I love that, by the way. The little kind of ode to the Warriors movie.
Yeah,
the woman on the radio just kind of giving updates. I don't know how she got the updates, but giving updates on where John Wick was at all times.
Yeah, it's so just such a great world to play around in and have like interactions in and like, listen, I've said it before that not everything has to have a shared universe, and I'm okay with standalone movies being just standalone movies.
I agree.
This is a shared universe that I want to get behind, though. Because
it feels different, you know what I mean? Like it feels different, the same nonsense that we always see,
and it also doesn't all have to follow one like sole storyline throughout, right?
Like that's what I hope they do. Right, I hope they do that. I hope we're getting the ballerina, and I know it's going to connect to John Wick because he's going to be in the movie. But I want them to show us different assassins, different people. Like the Continental show, I don't know if you read about it, is a prequel showing how Winston, Ian McShane's character, meets Sharon, his concierge, and also probably meets John Wick as a young version of him, and becomes the kind of head of that hotel. So like that's cool, but I almost would rather see other Continentals. I agree with you. I want to see travel the world. Let me see some other spots. I would love to see, like I said, like we've said, they've already introduced a bunch of assassins that I would 100% be on board to see a movie based on them. And then they can just come up with new ideas. You know what I mean? They don't have to stick to the assassins. Maybe they come up with someone else. You know what would be cool? The cleaner, the guy that John calls in John Wick 1, that shows up and just cleans all the dead bodies. Like, let's find out more about him. I'm interested. You know what I mean? I want to know.
How about the fact that the cops know who John Wick is?
Well, see, so in the first movie, I do think that the movies have done a great job building out the world, but the one thing the first movie did really well that the rest, I think it tried to expand upon, and maybe it loses some of its like mystery, is like to your point, when the cop comes and goes, I'm hearing a lot of noises, and then he sees the dead body, and you think like, oh fuck, John's gonna have to do something, and he goes, are you working again? And John's like, no. He's like, all right, have a good day, and just walks away. Like little moments like that made me go like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Like that's like, I want to see more of that kind of stuff for sure.
I mean, to be honest with you, the thing that this one suffered from, and I think the last number 3 kind of suffered from a little bit too, was that there's no real like John Wick style lines. There's no style lines. You know, there's no like people keep asking me if I'm back.
Yeah,
I'm thinking I'm back. You know,
there's no real one-liners. He's not the one-liner hero anymore.
Yeah, no, he's not. But I kind of miss that about him. You know what I'm saying? And like, not even that, but even from the other people around him, like we were talking about earlier, where he's like, "It's the Baba Yaga." Like, like there's no.
You didn't get that.
Yeah, there's no like, there's none of that.
I'm just trying to think now. You even have in John Wick 2, you have I can't think of the actor's name, but the Russian in the very beginning is like, he kills a guy with a pencil. Who the fuck he does that? Like, you know, like just moments like that. Yeah.
Yeah. There's moments like that. Even when the guy sits down with John and he's just like, I'm not back. He goes, you were back the second you came in, my friend.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you know, I have your marker. Right. Like all that, like all of that kind of went away in 3 and 4. But the action got tripled in 3 and 4, so it's kind of like,
yeah, you gotta take what you get, right? One thing I didn't like, and this kind of goes back to from 2 to 3 or whatever. In John Wick 1 and 2, he's on missions, right? He's trying to kind of free his name essentially. But in John Wick 3, he has a bounty on his head from the beginning of the movie on. The one thing John Wick 3 did really well is that everywhere he went, there were people trying to kill him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he really was on the run the whole movie. In this movie, he's still got a bounty on his head all the way up until he issues the duel. But he didn't feel like it. He travels the world a couple times, and I'm like, you went all that way and nobody tried to kill you? Like that, like, you know, they skip ahead to like when he gets to where his destination is.
Like because they skip ahead to he's already in Osaka, right?
Right.
So, he's already in Osaka. And he obviously has friends. Yeah, but he obviously has friends in Osaka.
I guess, but I feel like you know he traveled very well. Let's put it that way. I didn't have a lot of issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but we don't know if he had a lot of issues or not because we didn't see it.
Well, they didn't show us, I guess. So I'm assuming that he didn't have any issues.
Yeah,
but like he had a $20 million in the beginning of the movie. I think it was $13 or $18 million bounty on his head. Yeah. So like in John Wick 2, the moment the bounty activates, he's nervous because anyone around him could be an assassin. And then we skip to this one, and he's for the most part nonchalant. And just traveling.
I think what happened, I think what they were trying to say is because you saw it when the bounty got raised to like 26 million. That's when everybody started coming out of the woodwork, right?
Yeah, which
so
is, I think that shows you how rich these people are, right? That 18 million wasn't enough. 20 million, though. All right.
But I think that's what happened. Like it was at 13 million at the end of like 3, right? And John Wick had managed to kill everybody that came after him. Yeah. So everybody's just kind of like, yo, 13 million is not enough for me to get killed by John Wick. You know what I'm saying?
And I guess
now it's up to 20.
They thought he was dead. So
yeah. And then like now it's 26 million. People were like, I think I could take a shot at John Wick for 26 million. You know what I'm saying?
It's worth trying. And yet, what they didn't realize is that he has a coat that he can just lift up, and then you can't do any damage to him.
The coat thing bothers me, man. They overused it in this movie so much because.
So let's talk about the last thing I want to talk about. Really, is the final stair scene, right? It's a really well done scene, right? It's an intense scene, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because you see the end game in sight, and he's got to fight his way through all these guys. I remember thinking to myself, agreeing with you, it's going to be this badass hand-to-hand fight. Then everyone pulls guns out, and no one takes cover, and all John does is this. And I'm like, dude, there's like 20 guys shooting at you, like. One of those bullets has to hit something vulnerable. It's a little weird.
Yeah.
But, whatever. It's John Wick. He gets to the top. When the guy shows up, the same guy who's been kind of chasing him the whole movie, out loud, I was like, this fucking guy again. And then he kicks him down the stairs all the way to the bottom. And I thought to myself, I don't care what kind of shape you're in. You're not going back up 200 steps. That's ridiculous. And you have to fight your whole way up. But then Donnie Yen shows up. And he's like, John, I need you to get up those stairs. And I literally was like, the kid in me was just like, this is fantastic. Oh, please, yes. But then John gets kicked down another bunch of stairs. And I'm like, dude, give up.
It's a never-ending flight of stairs, dude.
I would have given up a long time ago, man.
Do you know what I wanted from that stair scene?
What?
Is I wanted the raid hallway fight scene on those stairs. Like a one shot going up the stairs, taking everybody out hand to hand style.
Yeah.
Up the stairs. Maybe throwing a couple like gunshots here and there. You know what I'm saying? But like for the most part, really make it hand to hand. The part that I thought was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in a movie is, and I cannot believe they did this in a John Wick movie, was at one part he takes his gun apart.
Right.
To take the slide and the barrel off and then start stabbing people with the lower.
Well, Lawrence Fishburne said, made a comment that the gun has the sharpest fangs you'll ever see. I guess that was what him basically saying, when you run out of bullets, if you take it apart, then it basically acts as like a shiv.
I guess
I don't disagree. I thought that was kind of not silly, but
it was silly.
It was on brand.
Silly.
You know, John Wick's going to use whatever he can to fight. But
I would have rather seen him pull out a box of pencils. Which, by the way, the Donnie Yen stabbing that guy with a pencil
was great.
Was absolutely genius. Yeah,
it almost.
I would rather seen him.
It was almost like a quick shorthand to show you that Donnie Yen was on the same level as John Wick, because he's also using a pencil to fuck people.
Well, it kind of makes me think, because like they obviously know each other. They've obviously were friends. It kind of makes you think like him and the leader of Osaka Continental, like all three of them. It seems like they trained together. It seems like they all trained together.
Well, see, now that's a prequel I can get behind. Seeing that history that they have, I would be down 100%. Even if you had to recast like John Wick, even though
like that scene when Kane goes up against him and he's like, Kane, and he's like, that guy, I can't remember his name. He's like, how's your daughter? And he's like, still alive. How's yours? Well,
yeah.
I was like,
I love again Donnie Yen. I don't think gets enough credit for his acting, because like with very little words, he was very easy. He very easily believed that he did not want to fight this guy. Yeah, he was like almost like begging him, like, please just give me the info. I don't want to do this, you know. And he sells it. You can't see his eyes because he's got his sunglasses on, and he sells it with just his voice. It's so good, you know. And even the way he kills him, it's like you kind of knew that it was more like instinct. He just stabbed him real quick because it's just like what he was trained to do, not what he really wanted to do.
Yeah,
you know, it's just so good. Donnie Yen had some of the best fight scenes in this movie. I mean, Keanu Reeves did too, but like, it's just everyone stole the show.
I just like the fact that, like, you know, like John Wick Keanu uses legitimate combat jujitsu throughout most of this film, and like he's like pulling out Imanari rolls and all types of like weird little jujitsu moves and stuff like that. That would lead you to kind of being like, all right, I can take this guy down and now I can shoot him in the face. You know what I mean? Like, that type of shit. So it's just, it's a great little detail that they have, and something that we don't see in movies.
No,
where if somebody really uses that style of martial arts.
Mark my words, though, we're going to see, like, this movie has already, or the John Wick franchise, I should say, has already influenced a lot of our action movies. Like we talked about Mr. Nobody before. We talked about Atomic Blonde, Extraction. Like clearly there's an influence there, but this one in particular really, I feel like, is going to change a lot of what we see in action movies. Yeah. I hope it affects what we see in the MCU and comic book action movies, because I'm kind of tired of the quick cuts and the shaky cam and all that stuff. Like, Shang-Chi didn't use that, and it's one of the better action movies in the MCU.
Well, we talk about it with the Daredevil Netflix series too. Is like they had the guys from the Raid working on that movie, on that show rather, and
there's a reason the fight scenes are unbelievable.
Yeah, the fight scenes are absolutely incredible in that show. So it's if you get the right stunt choreographers behind all this, the guys that really know how to shoot this stuff, you can make anyone look good. See, but the problem is that when they came to like Iron Fist, they got a guy that you couldn't make look good, and they had the wrong, like they wanted to go like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon with it,
which is not the right idea. They should have went Raid 2, John Wick with it instead. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just wasn't, because you can't have somebody that doesn't know how to do kung fu look like he knows how to do kung fu in a matter of like. And they did that. Those guys are the ones who did the fight choreography and stuff for the Defenders show. And Iron Fist looked so much better in that show because.
Well, the other thing too is they gave him the mask in Defenders,
right?
Whereas Iron Fist, the show, he didn't have the mask, so
so
you could like Charlie Cox. Like, let's be honest with you. Charlie Cox in the hallway fight scene in Daredevil, he's wearing a mask. It's probably not Charlie Cox.
Well, it's funny. They do a good job of showing you it's him, but he doesn't ever really do anything that flashy. Like, he'll do like a punch or two or whatever.
Like
and then he gets knocked off screen. And when he pops back in, all of a sudden he's flipping and whatever. That's the stunt double. Then all of a sudden the stunt double falls. Yeah. And when he pops back in, it's another like.
Well, also like the Netflix series made a point to make him not as acrobatic as the comic book version. Like he was more of a boxer.
Yeah. He's more grounded.
More of like a boxer, kickboxer type style instead of like doing like spinning 360 kicks and shit.
Yeah, they started getting more into that as the shows went on. But
especially
as
in
the first one in particular, he's really just standing toe to toe and just fucking people up. He has some of the flashiness, but not
a little
much,
bit.
You know?
Like
I think
there's that one part where he jumps up, does a spin, and then punches the guy in the face.
Like an unnecessary flashy spin for no reason.
But for the most part, it was very listen, Born Again's coming. I want to see John Wick in like this John Wick style in Born Again. Like that's what I want to see.
Can you imagine, man?
I want to see.
That would be perfect.
Yeah, like when Secret Invasion comes and they're doing, I want Bucky to be fighting like John Wick. I want Sam to be fighting like John Wick. Add in some ways for them to use the wings and the shield and the metal arm and shit. But
can you imagine, dude? I would love to see that.
Because like if you really think about it, like Winter Soldier is a perfect example when you first see Bucky and he's fighting on the highway and he's doing really complicated hand-to-hand combat. Where there's that scene where he drops the knife, grabs with the other hand, keeps coming in. He's, they're doing all that shit. That was really impressive. And then they got away from that.
That's also an example of them editing too much because there's the behind-the-scenes footage of Chris Evans and the stunt guy and the guy who plays Bucky. I can't think of his name now for some reason. And the Captain America stunt guy doing the fight scene. And they knew the choreography. They could do it really well. You could literally just put a camera there and let them do it, and it would just look great. And then when you see it in the movie, they cut 16 times in between just him dropping the knife. And it's like, why?
I think it still looked good in the movie, though. I think
it's one of the better examples of it being used. And then the Russos kind of got a little out of hand with it.
Well, they definitely got out of hand with
it. But this is why you need to give someone like Chad Stahelski or someone that his crew. Sam Hargrave is another one who did Extraction. Like they know how to make these scenes and they know how to teach the actor to do as much of it as possible, but how to cut it in a way when they cut to the stunt double, you don't even notice it, and the stunt double is doing everything.
I see. They also lucked out because they had Keanu, right? And Keanu took it so seriously,
so easily, well, I should say.
Well, he went out and trained too. Like, you ever see the videos of him training out of Terran Tactical with the guns and stuff like that? Like, he knows how to do this stuff. Like, he's not like, I'll get to it. I'll figure it out. Blah blah blah. Let the stunt guy do it. So, like, they have somebody that's fully on board, willing to like become a black belt in gung fu. You know what I'm saying? And learn how to do all this stuff and learn from the choreographers and stuff like that. And I think you need that also. Like, if you don't have the actor willing to sacrifice and kind of learn this shit and be fully immersed in this world, you falter a little because then you have to get a stunt double to do it. Like that overhead dragon's breath shotgun scene. That's Keanu the whole way through.
The whole way. He insisted apparently on doing that whole sequence.
It's a one-shot scene. There is no stunt double. That is all Keanu.
Everyone else is a stunt double. Keanu
I'm saying there's no stunt double for Keanu. Yeah. There's stunt men that he's fighting, but there's no stunt double, right? Like that's Keanu the entire way.
He's pushing 60. Like that's
it's wild. Him, it's wild. I'm pushing 40 and I feel like I'm going to die.
Yeah, I laughed because I was all the times he gets hit by a car, I kept saying to John, I'm like, dude, when I get out of bed, my knees crack. Like I can't even, like Jesus, I feel like I'm gonna lose my balance. When
I went into the woods to shoot pheasant this week. My back still hurts.
Yeah, and here's Keanu getting hit by 6 cars, and then getting up and still
fell off a building, got shot with a fucking shotgun. I will say that also like a side note on the suit thing, the one thing about the stupid, like I'm protect my face. Is when the German priest shoots him with the shotgun, he goes flying across the room.
That cracked.
I was like, all right. At least we're proving that the suit thing isn't like
flawless.
Flawless. Yeah.
Well, the one thing I will say, I just love this movie so much, man. I mean, this movie basically was the closest we get to a video game on screen.
So that was the other thing I was going to bring up.
You know, he's got to basically empty out an entire clip for every person he kills. He's going for headshots constantly. He's got to build up to the boss fight, and then they do different levels.
When they're in the Osaka,
how is there not a game out now? You know what
I mean? I said the same thing. Like, how is there not a video game on this? When they're in the Osaka Continental, right? And they're fighting the high table guys, and then the armored high table guys come out. I was like, oh my god, it's like level 2. We've reached level 2. Yeah. Like, here we go.
Enemies leveled up. Like, you know, it's just.
That's all I was thinking the whole time. It's like, this is like watching a live action video game.
Anyway, I loved it. I mean, to me, like I said, John Wick 1 is probably my favorite because it started the whole thing. But this is easily my second one, my second favorite.
100%.
Because the action is just
out of the
amazing.
sequels, this is definitely the best one.
Amazing.
Out of the sequels, this is definitely the best one.
That's not to take away from the second and the third one because they're both really good, but this one is just on a whole other level. I mean,
it took everything they did in 2 and 3 to like you said, a whole new level. Like one is good from a storyline aspect, right?
Yes,
because it's the story.
Well,
right?
arguably, it's the one with the most story.
It's the one with the most story. Absolutely,
he's got married. Like,
you
know, there's a lot going on there that gives him motivation. Here, it's the last 3 of them is just John, go kill this person. Okay, no problem. And he just kills every single person until he gets there. You know what I mean? That's kind of what happens. I was going to say, so we have the spinoffs coming out for this show, for the spinoffs, the Continental movie show, and then the Ballerina movie. Chad Stahelski, I don't know if you know this, has like a whole bunch of projects that they want him to do, and he's trying to figure out which one he likes the most, essentially. But he's been tapped to create a Ghost of Tsushima.
I heard that.
And he has already said that he wants to do it in like the old school, like black and white samurai style. But imagine, like, we see these sword fights in this movie. In
Sonata's got to be the guy, right?
He's got to be if he's not the main guy, he's in the movie. He's got to be. But got to be. Just based off of the Osaka scenes in this movie, it got me so excited for the idea of Chad Stahelski doing a Ghost of Tsushima movie. Talk about like a perfect director for a perfect property. Absolutely. He would kill it, and I hope that's
you know what they should give him. Do you know what they should give him? The next Mortal Kombat movie.
Yes, 100%, 100%. Fuck the guy who's doing it now. They should give it. They should give it to him. He'll make the fight scenes will be better. The storyline will be more in line with the games. He would do a great job. 100%.
And Feige, listen to me. Feige, here, right here. Listen to me.
Let me zoom in. Hold on. Let's zoom in on your face here.
Zoom in.
Go ahead. Let him know. Let him have it.
Feige, listen here, bud. All you got to do, call Stahelski. He doesn't have to direct the whole movie. Just get him to do your fight scenes. Just get him to do your fight. Just the action. Look, we won't tell anybody. Call Stahelski. You could take credit for the idea. We know it's me and Chris's idea. Just Feige. Just call Stahelski. Get him to do your fight scenes. And you're golden, bud. That's all we're going to say.
They missed the opportunity. They should have had him or at least someone in his group do the fight scenes for Moon Knight. They wanted that grittiness, but that would have been a great pairing to have the two of them do that, to have them do the fight.
I'll be honest, they should have brought him on to be the fight choreographer for Shang-Chi. Even though the fights were amazing in Shang-Chi, like you could have really done something special with him for Shang-Chi.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you really could have. I mean, he would have elevated it to a whole nother level for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, absolutely. I guess there's still time, right? But I don't think he wants to do a comic book movie. He's basically said before
he's doing comic book movies. I mean, this is basically comic book movies.
What's funny is he says he wants to do things that he likes, things that are more grounded, more realistic. Yeah. And like, I guess to your point about the jujitsu, I could see that. However, you have a guy who lifts up his jacket and blocks every single bullet that's coming his way. So it's a comic book movie. This is literally John Wick doing.
Keanu's got a comic book based loosely off John Wick called Berserker.
Does he? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go read that now.
Yeah.
But you know, so just to put it in perspective, Chad. All right, I'm looking at you, Chad. Keanu Reeves lifting his jacket.
Give yourself the zoom
in. Every
give
bullet.
Yourself the zoom in.
Oh yeah, hold on. Zoom in. Yeah. Chad, listen to me, Chad. John Wick lifting his coat up and blocking every bullet that comes his way is no different than Bucky Barnes putting his hand out and blocking every bullet coming his way. Okay, it's the same exact thing. It's the same exact thing. Like, and I always hated that in the Winter Soldier. Whenever he's out there and there's like an army of people and he just goes like this, and every bullet just hits his hand. And I'm like, there's a whole other section of him. Why are you hitting here? Like, come on now, you know. And he does it multiple times
true.
in Winter Soldier, and he does it in Captain America: Civil War too. And I'm just like, bro, seriously. But anyway, on that note, Chad Feige, you heard it here first. We're gonna keep bringing it up, honestly, for the next few weeks, the next few episodes, because I want to get it out there in the world.
Absolutely.
All right, man. I got nothing else to say about John Wick.
I'm good.
John Wick 4, go see it. Mandalorian, phenomenal show. Thank you for taking an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes with me.
45. We went long on this one.
I could have kept going, but I got called at some point. We will see you guys on the next theater room. That'll be episode 80. I'm talking more Mandalorian. I think I'll probably be talking Mario at that point. So we have a lot.
Maybe Dungeons and Dragons if we can get to see it.
Maybe if I can squeeze it into my busy schedule.
When's Creed 3 coming to streaming? Because we missed a huge.
Completely missed it. I wanted to see.
We're all Creed fans. We're both Creed fans, so
that's gonna come out. You know what we should do for Creed 3? We talked about doing the like Mystery Science Theater kind of thing, or watching the movie and talking about it. Let's do it for Creed 3. Let's make that our first one.
I'll make that our first one.
I'm definitely down for that. We'll do a reaction and just talk about it.
Yeah.
All right, so you heard that here first. We're going to do a Creed 3 whenever it comes out. It should be 45 days after it's out of theaters, so it's not going to be too long.
Yeah.
So it should be soon.
Works for me.
All right, man. Thank you. I'll talk to you later. See you guys on the next theater room. Like and subscribe on all the shit. Keep an eye out. Multiversal podcast might be this weekend. There's definitely going to be the Overshadow group going live, watching the WrestleMania.
I don't know if Fred's going to be able to do it this weekend because we're pretty much streaming every night.
You might end up having to push it. So Oversell podcast, though, if you're a wrestling fan, greatest podcast in the universe, wrestling podcast in the universe, is going to be this weekend. They're going to be streaming live. So join them. Yeah. They're going to be reacting live to WrestleMania, and going to have a few of the boys in there. I'm going to try and jump in. And otherwise, we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, buddy.